Okay, now we're live. So you guys are ready. We'll get started. And welcome to Bravo Team, episode number 13. I know if you watched this on YouTube a couple weeks ago, we did episode 13, but since we're going to be talking a little more about the 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe, I decided to push the Toys episode back to 14, and this is the new number 13. Lucky number 13. Oh. And joining me, as it has been recently, we have Mr. Articulated Chad. Hey, Chad, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Good morning. How you doing?
Doing good. A little hungover, Friday and Saturday night, my drinking night, so I'm about 9 o'clock in the morning. So, but Chad, like any good guest, has brought a special gift along with him.
Oh,
Chad,
boy.
why don't you introduce?
All right. So for anybody who doesn't know him, and I don't know why you wouldn't know him, we'd like to welcome Mr. Jay Bartlett from the Jay and Rob Tour Show and Action Figure Adventure Nintendo Quest. So Jay Bartlett, thanks for coming.
Oh, hey, Chad. Good to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too.
I guess this is the new face-to-face for now, at least.
Yeah.
And, am I to call you General Head? Is that really the name I'm going with?
You can call me Aaron. That's fine.
Okay. I'll call you whatever you want, dude. I mean, that's up to you. Yeah.
I've been called. Oh.
Okay.
I'm married. Oh, I've got teenage kids. Hell.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
So
Thanks for coming.
The last episode I dropped was about the 40th anniversary from Hasbro and G.I. Joe and all the stuff that Hasbro was releasing in honor of the 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe. And I was talking with Chad, and Chad mentioned that you may be a little bit of a G.I. Joe fan.
Tiny bit, yeah.
So why don't I let you take the stage and tell everyone out there a little bit about yourself, about your love for G.I. Joe?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if we're about all the same kind of age or when I'm 47 now. So I was there from the beginning for the Real American Hero stuff. And I was blessed to have a mother who spoiled me. So it was Star Wars, and then it got into, Transformers and G.I. Joe in the 80s. And I was just fascinated with G.I. Joe. And even before the show, that there was no one real hero. And the way Larry Hama wrote the file cards, he brought even guys like Grunt to life. So in my circle of friends as kids, everyone had their favorite. This was before Snake Eyes was, the number one. This was way before that.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of had their favorites. So I was a Flash guy, the first 82 lineup. I love Flash. My buddy loved Grunt, and Breaker was my first Joe. The number of accessories far outweighed Star Wars. The articulation, of course, was far superior to Kenner's Star Wars. I followed the Mego line more. That's where it started, really. I'm not a big war guy. Like, I don't know a lot about the military, anything like that. I just love Joes.
Right on. And did you follow the comic book at all, or were you just into the toys? Or
I didn't read the comic, honestly, until probably 5 years ago.
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago, the Larry Hama one, yeah. Which I will say is obviously far superior to the show. The show is great in its own right, but the comic book's insane. And to know that he's still writing it now it's incredible.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's like we talk about in the show every month. Yeah, the cartoon was good for what it was, but yeah, Larry. And we think that's part of the reason why maybe the comic was so much better, because it was just Larry doing the comic, where the cartoon, you got your stable of writers you have to go through, and then they
you have different writing teams writing different episodes and things like that for the Sumbo show. So I mean, it was great, and as a kid, it was, it was that and Transformers. Those two kind of go hand in hand if you're an 80s kid, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
those two shows were just staples every single day after school. It was G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Masters sprinkled here and there.
Yeah. I'm 52, so I'm just a little bit older than you, but not very much. So
hey, you know what, man? I gotta say, Aaron, it's not often that I'm on a show where I'm not the oldest, so it's kind of a relief.
You are not.
There you go. That's a first.
Well, good. Glad I could help you out. And over in the chat, we have Chris Clements, Clem 4135 joining us, and Cobra Commander is joining us. Apparently, Chad has now got a date with Cobra Commander. Right on, Chad.
Cobra Commander's in the chat. I'm nervous now.
And Chris Clements said that the first he remembers getting was Flash, Breaker, and Rock and Roll. So
yeah. And you know what's crazy? I'll address that. I didn't get Rock and Roll until last year.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I never had Rock and Roll. For whatever reason, he eluded me. I think I found, this is just how picky I was at the time. I found a few without the helmet. And for some reason, Rock and Roll just needs his helmet.
Yeah.
So, but I finally got him.
I can get behind that. Right on. So, I understand you do a little show on someplace called YouTube.
Yeah. The YouTube thing is new for me. My friend Rob and I, we create documentary films, and we have a TV show on air called Action Figure Adventure. And when the pandemic hit, everyone has kind of the same story, but I'll just regurgitate. Everyone was locked in, and it's like, well, what am I going to do? We can't go out and shoot anything. So I taught myself video editing, lighting, sound, all that stuff. And I just started making YouTube. It's hilarious if you go back and watch some of my first ones. Oh my God, they're pretty brutal. But I kept them up there because it's important to see, where you come from, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where that started. So I'm about, I think, just over 2 years into it. So it's still pretty new. There's still a lot to learn with YouTube, and it's a grind, man, but it's very rewarding.
Right on. Very nice. Yes. Second.
Jay, I'm going to take a little cue from what you and Rob do, and why don't you tell us today how the weather is up there in good old Canada?
It's snowing, man, if you can believe that. So it always happens here in Canada, well, at least in Ontario here. St. Patrick's Day is always beautiful and warm. So we're outside, having a few on the lawn with the neighbors. And then the next couple of days it's snow and stuff. It's just like that little bit of a tease. But I know spring's around the corner. Weather, right? It's the old guys talk about the weather.
You're a Christian old guy.
I am, yeah.
Well, it was 80 degrees here yesterday.
Oh, that's nice. I'm
Probably
very,
nice.
very jealous. Give me that. There we go. I'm very jealous of that.
It was in the 80s here in California. I'm in Central California, so.
Oh, you son of a, yeah. Very, very jealous. Love California. I've been there only a couple times for brief periods, but I love my stay. It was awesome there.
Yeah, I'm in Central California. So I'm like an hour or two from the beach.
We got somebody's mic feeding back there. There we go.
Driving by, it smells like. Yeah, I'm in Central California, so I'm like an hour or two from either the beach or the mountains. We don't normally get snow where I'm at. For snow, I've got to travel about an hour or two up into the hills, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I'd rather. I'm the type that I like to travel and see the snow.
Oh yeah,
my happy butt back home.
Yeah, it's not fun to live in, and I don't mind it when I don't have to go anywhere and you're snowed in for a few days. That's fine. It's when you got to drive. I don't really like driving myself. I like road trips, but I don't like driving myself, and especially as I get older. And then driving on the ice is that's not my thing, man. Right? It's not.
Oh yeah.
Thing, so. I try and avoid any kind of like snow driving the best I can. Are we really talking about this still?
Yeah. And Chris said that Mess is much like mini Canada, so come on down. So you got an invitation. Go visit Chris Clements in Mesa, Arizona.
Oh, I'm sure Arizona is like mini Canada. Yeah. No, I've driven through Arizona. Hey, Chris, by the way, I've driven through Arizona, but I've never stopped. So it's I love the progression from Arizona to Utah to Vegas to California. That's a really pretty drive. I've done that a few times.
And Simple Tricks and Nonsense has joined us in the chat also.
Awesome.
So, Chad, did you have questions or something you wanted to ask Jay?
Hot seat, Jay. Favorite joke, the Uncle Bill.
Man, it changes so often. I just recently got a complete bug, and fascinated with that thing. I love it. I love big troop transports like that. Like I love the whale. The Bug is, of course, a little more neon and a little more 90s, but I love that thing. And Secto Viper is just such a wicked figure. But I don't know. Let me look at my. I know the flag doesn't count. I don't know, man. I have so many. I'm old school, right? I like the Ram. I like the Mobat. I like the green stuff, like the original stuff. Yeah, any of those will do.
I bought a Badger. You know, one of the '90s vehicles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You like green? Oh, look what I did to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. So
Cool.
I see you got a Sky Striker on your flag back there. Did you change your mind about pristine decks?
So with the Sky Striker, I actually ran out of room in the studio here. Actually, it's because of the Bug. So I had to put a spot up for the Bug. Usually, Aaron, I have like a ton of play sets set up and a ton of vehicles, and they're not manned. I just like the way a clean playset or vehicle looks. I think I'm the only one who does that. So the flag was barren except for Keelhaul was in the Admiral's chair. But that changed. So I got the Sky Striker on. It's all right. It kind of bothers me, but whatever. I'll have to deal with it.
I was actually surprised to see that behind you.
Is that a black Sky Striker? Is that the
Yeah, that's the one from the Silent Strike set.
Oh, okay. Cool, man. Yeah. That's really cool. That's a cool way to display them. Never thought about hanging them on the wall like that. That's really neat.
And it is.
Well, you know, speaking of running out of space, so you know the struggle. I know you know the struggle. So yeah. I ran out of space, and a couple of people I know were doing this, you know, facing them out instead of hanging them from the ceiling.
Yeah.
They're hanging them on the walls, and so I like that. The only bummer about that is I had to drive a nail through one of Carson's posters there and stick it in front of it.
Oh, well, yeah. He's got some great artwork too.
Oh yeah. I went hard in the paint and bought them all, and then I ran out of space on the walls, and so they're just over here in a row.
Dude, same thing, right? We went and saw Carson a couple years ago, and I'm like, hey man, you have any of those posters? You can't really see it right there. It's the flag box frame, or the poster, I should say. And he's like, I got them all. I'm like, I'll take them all. And I have literally 3 framed and hanging around the house, but there's no room for the others. But I bought all of them because I couldn't leave any behind. They're just great, especially like the ones with the carded figures.
Right. So you're talking like that.
Yeah, that's what is right there.
Yeah. Oh, by your fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, no man left behind. Right on. Yeah, I have a habit of doing that. I got a room for it. I need to buy it anyways. I need that anyways.
I mean, that's the trap we fall in, right? It's the space is always the issue, but it's like, hey, whatever I'm gonna have, I'll make room for it. I'd rather have the item and not miss it than worry about the space.
Right.
Probably not rational way of thinking, but
that's that balance with, you know, collecting, especially lifelong collecting. A lot of people, when they get into collecting, they just think about the items, you know, the pieces, and I need to get this and I need to get that. And a lot of them don't tend to realize until maybe it's too late that it's not just the collection, the displaying, the storage, all that stuff. You know, your display options are limitless and they can cost a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's really weird, you know, around us traveling and interviewing the different collectors for Action Figure Adventure. It's so interesting to see how some people display their collections. And right off the bat, I'll say there's no right or wrong way. It's just interesting. We met a guy who, for his Star Wars stuff, like his carded figures, they're all in totes, right? Yeah. Sealed up like Walmart totes, and they're all labeled whatever year and whatever set it's from and stuff. He's like, I love it. I can just go down here and lift up the tote, and I know exactly where. I'm like, yeah, but you can't see any of this stuff. I didn't say this, right? Because there's no right or wrong way to do it. But just for me, like you see, like I'm so bad with this camera. With the vintage Star Wars guys there, I want to see everything. Like they're pieces of art to me, right? So to have them, I think, in a display tote like that is a disservice to the Joes, or any figures, but
and kind of a waste, but
yeah, absolutely.
Got some comments there, Aaron.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. Chris Clements made a couple comments. He said he loves the tanks and aircraft. You think the Night Raven may be way high on the top. And then he also, when you were talking about not wanting to leave any of the posters behind, He said, "Leave no Carson poster behind." And then he commented, "Simpletrix has got the honey-to-do list in full force this morning," because apparently Simpletrix has joined us, and he said that he had joined us when we were talking about the weather. He says he's outside of Florida, painting his house and listening to us. So,
so jealous, Florida.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, good for you. That's a really nice picture to paint too, as well. Being in the nice weather, listening to a podcast. I mean, that's my idea of good time. Have a beer beside you.
Yeah,
some guys talking about Joe's. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I was going to bring this up kind of later in my notes, but you know how things flow. Yeah. I've been rewatching the Jay and Rob show, Jay, and I'm back up to 45 again. So I'm working my way through it like every day.
45. Sorry, 45.
Yeah, 45 about what's the title? The collecting. I'm on our chat right now.
I don't understand you're above 45. What? Sorry.
No, I'm on episode 45.
Oh, you're on episode 45. Oh my God, the actual podcast. I thought you meant the show.
Yeah, no,
I was like, we didn't do 45 of those.
Like that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I'm on episode 45 again.
Dude, well, that's speaking of, I mean, me and Rob have done podcasts since we were freaking kids, right? But isn't it funny, like you watch or listen to the first episode? It's funny. I remember being in my smaller studio, which was just a bedroom in my house, and I remember the camera was really low on me and stuff like that. I can't even go back and watch that stuff. It's funny. That was just a whim. We just thought we'd do it after Action Figure Adventure came out. We're like, well, we still want to talk about toys, so just do a podcast. It's pretty easy to do, and hopefully it lasts. But yeah, it's great. We've got a really nice following of awesome people like Chad here, of course, and it's great, man. I love the community, and everyone really looks out for each other and is genuinely enthusiastic about what it is we do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, speaking of looking out for people and being enthusiastic, why don't you talk to us a little bit about Action Figure Adventure and the Children's Health Foundation and the Child Life Program?
Yeah, sure. So 2015, we made a film called Nintendo Quest, which documented myself going around and trying to complete the retail NES library in 30 days. It was kind of like a dare. Right after that happened, I was in this group where we were working closely with the Children's Health Foundation, just raising money for them and stuff like that. And then Rob and I were at the drawing board, and we're trying to think of, what do we want to do next? What do you want to do next? So it's going to be a sequel to the video game one, which may or may not work. Toys or music. I guess comic books too, maybe, but we hum and hawed, and we thought about, we wanted to do toys. But I kind of was like, well, I don't just want to go around and buy this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with pickup videos. That's not what I'm saying. But I just don't want it to be another glorified film about me going around grabbing stuff that I want, putting it on my shelf, and it's like, great, look at me kind of thing. So it's like, well, I can go and do that. And then with the stuff that I collect, we can auction it off. And by doing that, the proceeds go to Children's Health Foundation. It's a charity that I've been working with for 6 years now, 5 or 6 years. So that's where we came up with the idea. So we get to interact with the toys. I get to house a lot of them for a good half a year or a year or whatever it is. And then they get auctioned off to fantastic people and all for great cause. So that's where that came from.
Very nice.
A little bit more of a purpose than just, for yourself. And that's not to say we didn't buy stuff for ourselves in every store, because we certainly did.
Yeah.
You go to some of these stores, man, and everyone is so different. You're in your town or your city, and you visit your local comic book shop, and it's always the best, right? But it's funny to see what else is out there and how different other stores can be, and just how they're displayed. And we had a wonderful time.
Right on. That sounds great.
Chris, you're a good guy.
And you guys already filmed season 2, correct?
Yeah, we shot season 2 in last August. and that'll be out by holidays this year. And that was tough. We went all the way across Canada, the East Coast this time, and that's tough during the pandemic. We were honestly, I don't talk about what people believe in. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
It's still scary. And I'm one of these guys. I'm a germaphobe, right? So this is literally the worst thing that can happen to human beings in my eyes, is something like this. So we had to go, and everyone's used to being in their house for a year and such, and now all of a sudden we're in a production van with the crew. We're going across the country. We're staying in hotels, going to strange places, and yeah, it's scary, man. We were scared, definitely, but it worked out. And this one, I think, is a bit more. There's a lot more interaction with Rob and I, which I kind of pushed for, because he's hilarious. He's a hilarious dude.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He doesn't show himself enough, but he still manages to weasel his way on the poster, though, doesn't he? If you're listening there, bub.
So, are you into the current, like the classified or the retro figures for GI Joe, or is it just the other stuff you like?
I don't really put boundaries on it. I started really strong with classified. For me to collect a new line, I have to really understand what the point of it is, where it's going. The figures look fantastic. You can't argue with that. But I don't really understand where it's going. To have GI Joes without vehicles is like making Mask. I mean, I would love a 6-inch Matt Tracker. Don't get me wrong, but to not have Thunderhawk with it, that's part of it. It's like Michael Knight without Kit. It makes no sense, right? So when HasLab announced that Sky Striker, honest to God, the first thing I thought was it was for a 6-inch line, and I just shit myself, and I jumped up. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing a Sky Striker. And then it's like, no, it's for the 3.75. I'm like, oh, well, I already have that.
Oh man.
There's some cool stuff with it. And I collected the 25th anniversary line pretty hard. So I get it. There's new generations that are now experiencing these old figures. I think that's great. For me, $100 for a Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes O-ring is ridiculous. Ridiculous when they can't even get the box art right. If you've seen this, they have version 2 Snake Eyes on the outer box before you even get to the package. I'm just like, I can't do this. It really depends. I'm a Storm Shadow guy, so I'll get the V1 Storm Shadow for classified. But the rest, I think I'm okay with. I think they're great, especially the twins look fantastic, right? They'll look great. But Hasbro's increasing prices again. I don't know about the States. Here they're, oh geez, I just did a podcast on this a week ago with Michael. Yeah, they're about 34, 39 for a classified figure now, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're $24.99 US.
Yeah.
See, that's great. Your tax is nothing, so it's like 25 something, right? Yeah. Here
I think they're going to be even higher, is my guess, because like we talked about, the Viper 3-pack they're releasing is $90. So that's
crazy. That's crazy.
I'm noticing, I was at the store the other day, and they've got the Transformers that were normally $20, $25. It's up to $30 now. So I'm thinking that they're going to probably start raising the price on the classified lines to the $30 point.
Yeah, I mean,
which is
I don't know how you guys feel about that. Like I said, I think the figures are great, but at that price, I've set out a goal for myself to finish the 82 to 94 this year. Complete or loose, I don't care. I just want the figure. That's good enough for me right at this point. So I would rather just say, if I'm going to sing $40 in, you know what I mean? I would rather put the $40 towards, Steel Brigade that I don't have, or whatever else, just to kind of finish that off. But hey, that's just me.
Yeah, no, it's starting to get a little pricey for me too, and that's part of my problem. I think you were saying that you don't know where Hasbro's going with GI Joe. Sadly, I don't think Hasbro knows where they're going with GI Joe.
They don't.
Because I know you talked about, it's good to get the newer generation in and get the kids in, but when the regular 4-inch figures are right now 12 something a piece, and the new retro O-rings going for about $20 a piece if you were to break them out individually, and you can't buy them on stores. I don't see them going for the kids.
They're not. They're
They're going
not for
me and you.
they're for us. They're for us
People that-
dudes, right?
Yeah.
Or people our age. I should say it's crazy for me. They keep saying, oh, maybe the 3.75 is for kids. It's like, well, it's not true. There's no cartoon. There's no show. You have the
Right.
comic book. Yeah, it's a pretty gritty comic. I can't see kids going out and buying Larry Hama's comic book. So it's just like these are built for us.
Right.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And they're just the 3.75s are just the 25th anniversary reissued again and again and again.
Right.
And again, I'm not going to blame Hasbro because there's new generations. I keep forgetting that, of people that are coming in that have never been able to buy grunts. So I think that's great. But at some point, you got to cut it off. It's like, I've bought this figure twice now. I'm not going to do it again, And the reaction too, the reactions, I bought 2 of those just to kind of see what they were like. And they're great in the package. That's about it.
Yeah, and pretty soon, like I said, they're going with for the classified. They're moving to the plasticless packaging, so you can't even see the figure in the package anymore.
Oh wow, I didn't hear that. Wow.
Yeah.
About that, the Hasbro, the 40th show, and then I was at Walmart the other day, and I saw over on Transformers. They had the Starscream with the throne and all that, and it's part of the package, plastic packaging.
Oh, the movie one.
Yeah,
like the crown. Oh, that's
the Coronation Starscream.
Yeah, the Coronation. That's what I was looking for. The Coronation Starscream, the crown, the throne, and all that.
Yeah.
There's no window in it. You can't see what the actual figure looks like. You just have the box art.
Let me ask you two guys this question. Do you think there's going to be a point when people will just throw their hands up in the air and say, I can't do this anymore? Like you're taking all the fun out of it.
I think so.
I mean, it's getting to that point, and it is really about the money to some degree. Aaron, I did a show. I'm not going to get into this whole story again. I did a show last week where I bought a Star Wars figure from Toys R Us, Cobb Vanth from Mandalorian, and he was $59.
Wow.
$59.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, I felt sick about that, and it's just getting too crazy for me. And there's just sporadic pieces of media like that awful G.I. Joe PS4 game that came out last year, I think it was. It's just garbage. I just don't understand where they're going. They're giving us all the things that they think we want. So, okay, you want the original scale, here you go. There's those. Then there's the 6-inch. Then there's reaction figures. Now we're getting ultimates. You like Thundercats ultimates. Well, here's G.I. Joe ultimates. Here you go. And those are going to be what, $70 each?
Wow. Yeah. See. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that they're doing these stupid decisions, and people are going to stop buying it because like I say, a lot of people won't buy it because of the no plastic windows anymore, the price, and all this.
Yeah.
And Hasbro's going to turn around and say, "Well, see, no one wants G.I. Joe. Let's stop doing it." When it's the fact that it's not that no one wants it, it's just they're going off half-cocked and not really. I don't want to say they're not thinking things through, but it seems like they're not thinking things through.
Well, they're just thinking ka-ching, right?
Right.
And you can't blame them. They're a giant corporation, and they own almost every IP. I think Mattel has Masters and a couple of other things.
Oh, you watch me? I'll blame them. All right. Oh.
and that's it. But Hasbro has Marvel, Star Wars, G.I. Joe. It's like
GoBots, Mask.
Yeah, they're going to be like, okay, well, you don't want to buy our product. They'll strong arm us like, in Goodfellas. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Not buy our stuff? Good luck with that. And Aaron, I don't know if you collect anything other than Joe. Chad, I think you're mostly Joe, right?
Correct. I have some Transformers and, some crossover stuff, but it's mostly Joe.
I said this before, that this might not be so bad if you just collected one IP, but I don't know anybody who does that. Even my good buddy Joe, who's titled himself, Masters of the Universe Joe, he still collects Marvel and he still collects Mask and all this stuff, right? So my point is, if you collected maybe one thing, I could see you keeping up with it. But every IP is doing this now. Now Mattel is flooding the market with He-Man's. Just too much. It's
Yeah,
too
I
much.
mainly collect the Joe. I say as I look at my shelf and I got like a handful of Transformers, I started buying. Uh, I thought about picking up some of the He-Mans, but I don't have the money and the patience and the time for another grouping of things.
Well, and it's space again, and it's money, and
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And it's a really bizarre time to be a collector now. It's like they're giving us everything we want, but it's like, do we really want all this? I don't know.
And so like I've talked about before, I think what they need to do if they want to get the kids in there is they need to have the 4-inch action figures, maybe not give us quite so many accessories with them and drop the price point down a little bit, because little Timmy going to the store, mom and dad, $12-15 for an action figures. Maybe it's just me and I'm a cheapskate, but that's a little pricey to buy a figure for little, Timmy to take it home and destroy it in a week or two. Strapping
Yeah.
a piece of C4 something to the back of Duke and really making that face be painful. Yeah.
You could say that when Star Wars made a resurgence with figures in 95, you could argue this, but I believe that they were built better and they looked better for the most part than the original Kenner stuff did, right?
Right.
But I don't think, even classifieds, I don't think the sculpts are better than Real American Hero. I don't think they look better. I just don't think they're great figures, but I don't think they're better than the original. So again, my point is like I would rather just finish off the vintage line,
Right.
than buy another Hiss tank. Did you guys buy that Hiss tank when it came out last year or whatever?
Yeah,
Right? It's like
his tank and his tank 3,
The Megatron one.
no, that just the right. Remember when the Hiss got reissued, the 3.75
Oh, the right
Hiss
the
tank with the 4-inch figure, which made no sense. It was too big for the Hiss tank. It's like, wait a minute.
Had the his tank, and then shortly after his tank 3, which is just his tank 1, repainted.
blue.
Yeah, and then here's the Fang, and it's just like, okay, again, all these, and why you would launch this with the All Striker makes zero. It's like they're just grabbing whatever mold is still. Oh, that mold is still in the basement. Okay, go grab that one, and we'll start printing this stuff out. Right, like Crankcase and the All Striker,
But not even the Vamp. And the Vamp they could have reused for the Stinger.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you bring Clutch out in the Vamp. If you're gonna do it right. I mean,
Right.
That's just the way it is, right?
And that's why I said that's why I don't think they've got. Again, they're just thinking about the money, but they're not thinking things through, and they're not thinking. I don't know, clearly, I guess. But
Well, this is something that we've discussed a lot, Jay, and that's why getting you on the show really helps broaden the discussion. Because Aaron and I have had numerous conversations in other Bravo team streams about, it's the disjointed nature of it and how it's kind of let's just throw stuff at the wall. And again, just like you just stated, why come out with the off first? Why not the Vamp? You could reuse the Vamp later on down the line, and then we got the black Hiss and the blue Hiss, and I'll self-identify. I bought probably 30 of those suckers, but I do a lot of customizing, so that's why I buy them. Is for fodder.
30 of those?
I have a lot of them.
Wow. See, I think that's badass, but yeah, that's. I mean, you vote with your wallet, right?
Yeah.
And I say that to fans of film, fans of video games, whatever you like, music. It's like if you don't like a certain product, you don't have to purchase it. The problem is at least with myself, I feel like I'm so weak-willed when I see that Hector Garrido art, the explosion. I'm like, oh my God, it's Storm Shadow. I just grab it. It's like Storm Shadow without thinking. First of all, you have the panic because this stuff is so scarce, right?
Right.
So it's like, okay, I got Storm Shadow in my hand. Okay, why do I want this? Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't think that, you just buy it. And I think the lure of that, the brand itself it's very powerful. And it's hard for a lot of us to just put it down and just say, no, I don't need this. I've started. Yeah, there you go. I had that in my hand. So Aaron, can you tell me why the version 2 of Snake Eyes is on the box for that? When the figure inside is version 1. See, these are things that they just don't care. They're just throwing together what they think. Oh, people like Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. They fought a couple times, right? All right, here you go.
It goes back to what I said earlier. I don't think Hasbro's thinking it through all the way, or they don't have the love for it that we do. And yeah, they're just whatever they have handy. Oh, this is some nice artwork. Let's throw this on there. Which figure? We got this one, man. Let's do this one.
Well, they did the same thing with the retro 4-inch figure for Snake Eyes. They've got the version 1 Snake Eyes on the card art, and it's version 2 Snake Eyes in the blister.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. I remember that. And I remember, again, I had that guy in my hand.
Yep.
And I was like, why is the bubble extended all the way? I guess maybe to make it different than the retro one or the original one. I'm getting all confused here. But yeah, they couldn't even get that right. And that's just sloppiness.
Yeah.
Well, it's insult to injury when the figure, that's just a re-release of the 50th anniversary figure from the 2-pack with Storm Shadow, and he came with the version 1 head in that 2-pack.
Yeah. Yeah, that and again, it's like what I said earlier in the podcast here. What's the point of the O-ring figures? Okay, so I look at it like an investment. Are you really going to do all 500 figures again?
No.
Like, what are you doing? Are you going to bring out vehicles? Like, you got the O-rings because everyone bitched and complained because there wasn't O-rings. Okay, so here's 2 O-ring figures. It's like, have they announced any more? I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, they've got another 2-pack coming of the Cobra Trooper and a Cobra Soldier.
Yes, it's snooze fest to me. Like,
but again, it kind of goes back to the whole disjointed, tone deaf.
Mm-hmm.
When they announced the retro line, which was just pretty much re-release of the 50th anniversary 4-inch modern articulated figures, as soon as they said retro, everyone was thinking O-rings.
Mm-hmm.
And when the O-rings didn't happen, this is almost appeasing those people who are mad about no O-rings.
Well,
they did it with the Sky Striker, and then they put out 2-packs, but it's almost kind of half-assed.
Yeah, it's like they don't know what they're doing. Because they said they announced it's the retro, GI Joes, but yeah, it's the 25th or 50th anniversary, whatever figures redone. They removed the Real American Hero from the packaging. That's no longer O-ring. They've changed the file card, so nothing on there to me screams out retro. Unlike Star Wars, when they've released their retro figures, those look like the toys I had when I was a kid. And then so people got upset. Well, this isn't retro. The package doesn't look the same. It's not O-ring. It's da-da-da-da. So now they're, okay, let's try to course correct. Now they're doing O-rings, but they're doing 2-packs at $40 some odd a piece, and they're only available through Hasbro Pulse. I don't know what their plan is. Like you said earlier.
Just to get you to buy as much as you can. Right.
Yep.
And whatever sells the most is what they'll put all the money into, which is obviously classified as
I pre-ordered the Cobra Trooper and Officer 2-pack, and then I got thinking, $40, that's $20 a piece. That's too much for what they are. So I canceled my order on that one because that's just getting to be too pricey.
Yeah, I mean, look at that Hasbro. And I don't mean it scam literally when I say it. I don't know what other word to describe it. When they brought out that second version of Zartan with just the heads, right? Just the ball joint heads. They just, so you can change his mask. There's a Storm Shadow version 1 head, and I don't know other silly heads. There were a skull. Just it's like random, well, what can we grab from the Marvel Legends bin? Oh, that skull that came with Thanos. Grab that. Well, that'll be another disguise for Zartan. And now he can change color and turn green like he should have in the first place.
Yeah, but it's cold instead of heat now. Ooh.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, now it's cold. You just chuck him in the freezer. See, he's got him right there.
See, at that point, there he is. Yeah. Yeah.
Which has the cool little.
Why didn't he come out first? This is like our argument about 5 roadblocks.
Yes. Yeah,
that makes no sense.
They got me on this one. I ended up buying both.
Yeah, they're just
first one, and
they're just throwing darts at characters. I think the roadblock thing I don't understand. I can't even begin to understand that, and I think there's a serious problem when you're attacking corporations' wallets. So when everyone threw a fit when Duke and Scarlet, who was the other one, Roadblock, when they came out and they looked like Fortnite or whatever everyone was complaining about, and then they went back a year later and recolored them. This is a problem, I think, with so much in media today. It has to do with Star Wars movies, it has to do with music, it has to do with everything. All these companies are listening too much to what fans are saying. Do you know what I mean? They
yeah.
should bring out their product, stand behind it.
Yep.
Because fans, because of social media now,
Right.
Hasbro can hear what people say, and fans speak loudly. They're very passionate. I get it, but it's like, no, this is the design we came up with for Duke. I guess I don't understand why people want to buy the same thing over and over again. Like, why do you want to buy a Duke that looks like the 84 Duke when this is not the 84 Duke? I don't get it. And then it comes out, and then it's, it looks too much like the vintage one. Well, it's like, what do you want? I don't think people know what they want.
No. And that's one of the complaints I've had with, these different companies is, they wibble wobble too much, like with DC and their movies. They started on one path and people complain, so they totally switch. Like they released Green Lantern. This is going to be the start of our DC universe. Here's Green Lantern. Oh, people don't like it. Okay, that's not part of our. We're going to start with Man of Steel now. It's just too much. And then Guardians of the Galaxy became real popular, so they changed Suicide Squad around, so it was more like Guardians of the Galaxy. They had a music director come in and actually edit the movie. And
well, I see a distinct difference between Warner Brothers and they're historically notorious for meddling versus Hasbro, and they're kind of sticking and moving. But
right.
In '82, when A Real American Hero came out, Bob Prupis and all those guys, like, they had a vision. This is how it's going to be. This is what we're doing, right? It was a little future forward. Some of them had laser rifles, some of them didn't. And then when Sunbow came out, it went a little more laser rifle, but they had a distinct style. And then they kind of took the beginnings of that style with the original 13, and then they just kind of kept going down the road with it. So they come out with Classified. Classified's going to be like this. I mean, and that's cool. If that's what Classified's aesthetic is going to be, stick with it. Like, lean into it. If people don't like it, then sure, then you can come out with that retro cardback 6-inch line where you give like the original look and gung-ho and things like that. But you got to have a vision. You got to stick with it. Like, when you just keep reacting and overreacting, and everything is like they pull back, like we've talked about before numerous times, Aaron. Like, you have pre-orders for figures. People love your brands and your lines, but your pre-order numbers are so low, you could easily sell 10 times as many.
Yeah.
But they just react and overreact, and then they go in a different direction again. So we had the retro 4-inch. Now we have the back to the O-rings, and Classified's changing. It's very, very reactionary. People are just like, just give me something. But something I want to point out, and this is kind of to you, Jay. So you're an experienced hunter. What I find really telling is that I have seen you find more Eternias than I have found Classifieds in, say, a Walmart or a Target.
Oh, wow.
And that's sad.
Well, I mean, I've had the privilege of being able to shoot a TV show where we travel to different cities, right? I mean,
yeah.
I think, the more you go out of your city, the more you're going to find, right? I mean, that's just
right.
But I see what you're saying. Yeah, Eternia is very rare. Classifieds, I had a hell of a time completing the first Cobra Island stuff. My buddy John, he picked them up for me in the States.
Yep.
He got me Beachhead and Baroness, and after I got all of them, and I think the second wave of those were like Major Blood and Firefly. I think it was those two. And I was just like, I can't do this. Like, it was so stressful to me that I'm like, if I come across them at a con or something, sure, I'll get them, but I can't go through that again. We're trying to get the Cobra Trooper was crazy. You couldn't get him. That's ridiculous. And that's the stuff that really turned me off from Classified, was this Target exclusive. And I get it. Money talks, right?
Sure.
But it was just so unfriendly to the core audience of Joe.
Oh yeah. No, that's one of my big complaints.
Well, money talks, that's all well and good, but make them available. If they're not going to be in stores, at least make them available online.
Yeah.
Well, if you have the demand, why don't you have the product?
It's tough too, because in Canada we don't have Target anymore. We did for a very short time, and it didn't last, which is weird. but Target got pulled out of Canada, so we didn't even have an option to get that stuff. Yeah, it's very frustrating. They've kind of eased back now on that, thank goodness. But when collecting becomes, it's all fun to hunt for something like Steel Brigade. Like, I just want to find one in a store. That's my goal. I don't want to buy one on eBay. I just want to find one. But when it becomes a chore, when you're like having anxiety about it, it's like, I've got to collect this wave, and you start to feel sick to your stomach and stuff. There's something really wrong.
Now, are you talking just regular old Steel Brigade, or are you talking like Gold Head or anything specific?
Just Steel Brigade. There was two. There was Starduster, who I got. They both came out in 87.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I telling you guys this? You guys obviously know that. But I got Starduster, and I remember the other one, Steel Brigade, came out that same year, and always had a soft spot for it because I remember writing out the bio for my character and what kind of weapon he got and stuff. And my buddy got it. He's like, I'm like, aren't you like a flamethrower specialist, but you have like Airborne's gun? I'm like, what's going on with that or whatever? He's like, yeah, you just got to use your imagination. I'm like, good point.
Yeah. Aaron, you got a lot of comments.
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say, let me see real quick. There was a point here. Oh, you go. Earlier, Simple Tricks and Nonsense had brought up. Do you think Hasbro is preemptively projecting inflation, and that's why the 2023 figures are already listed higher? Probably. I mean, I don't. Other than just simple greed, I don't know why else they're raising the prices on them, but everything else is going up. So I imagine that's probably why those are going up. Do you guys have any opinions on that, Jay?
Yeah, imagine being a Marvel Legends collector. I brought this up on my show, where there's 6 or 7 in a wave, and they each come with a piece of a figure to make a Build-A-Figure. Imagine being a Marvel Legends collector now and having to get the whole wave to get that Build-A-Figure. Like, you're gonna go broke. There's no way, man. I mean, even if you're well off with a lot of money, you still have to know that this is way too much money for this stuff.
Yeah.
When I believe, this is just my opinion, the majority of this stuff that we're getting now, some of it might go up, but the majority is just going to fall by the wayside. When another 5 years they'll bring out another Duke who looks even more realistic. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Chad, do you have thoughts on that?
I could see where he's going with that about the inflation thing. I mean, for all the frustrations that us fans, they're a smart company. So I mean, that could be. I'm not a business person. I'm just a collector, but it makes sense.
And then Chris Clement says that he saw the Canada Toys R Us line. The Joe figures doubled in price. The Baroness Quail box is now $69 there.
Yeah, I have a Toys R Us actually 5 minutes from where I live here.
Rub it in.
Yeah, dude, let me tell you, you're not missing much, man. Don't let that nostalgia bug get you, because most times I go in there, it's just nothing. It's old waves of this and that. Until recently, when I got a He-Man and Orko figure, and it was well stocked, and then I looked around, it was because of prices. So a Star Wars Black Series regular figure was $47.99. And then, like I said, the Cobb Vanth Deluxe for $60, because instead of him wearing the helmet and jetpack, they spread it out so they can make the package bigger.
Right.
There's no reason that figure should be. It doesn't even come with like a diorama or anything like that, right? The backpack's not attached to him. So
yeah, when I saw that video of yours, I almost fell out of my seat when you said the price of it.
And then it's like, I felt myself like, I love that character so much. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to say no to this. So someone asked me if I had gone in the Toys R Us myself, because my buddy picked it up for me, and I had gone in there and seen it, would I have got it? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. And that's a problem. That's a problem.
I think it's a problem we all suffer at times, not knowing when to stop. Chris Clemens says that the old art is still insanely good today. That's correct.
Yeah, you can't beat the Hector Garrido art.
No, you can't. Yeah, he was an absolute talent. And so some of the best package art. In fact, G.I. Joe is by far the best package art of all time for any kind of toy line. Just phenomenal.
Just some comments from the chat. Chris Clemens said he saw the Zartan. And then he said the Super 7 inch is $50 each.
That's US. Yeah, it's worse for Canadians.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. Yep. And then what's on Joe Mine joined us. He said the fact that there were lasers didn't seem to bother folks as much as the Nerf tie-in. He thought it was a neat touch.
Like the Nerf guns, huh?
Hey, Mike, glad you could join us, man.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It could be worse. It could be like DC, what they've done to McFarlane.
Yep.
Where you can't have any guns at all. So if you're familiar with the character Red Hood from Batman uses 2 pistols. And his new figure, his hand is like this. And he has no weapons. There's 2 of them. I think one has a crowbar. I'm like, give me a break.
The crowbar that Joker killed him with?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Have Red Hood without having any guns. It's like having G.I. Joe without guns.
Yeah. Like, what are you going to give Deathstroke?
Yeah, exactly. Deathstroke gets to, I don't even know. I can't even answer that. Like, so ridiculous to me. I think McFarlane, I think Rob was saying this, that the way to get around that was that he's bringing out weapon accessory packs that aren't labeled DC. They're just, 6-inch weapons accessory packs for Spawn or whoever else. Right? So that's a pretty good idea. But the fact that Detective Comics themselves is stopping, you really think little kids are buying these figures?
Right.
Like of the Joker who laughs and like Death in the Family and stuff like that. Like these are serious adult books.
Well,
You think kids want
$20 piece more figures? I mean, to me, again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm out of touch, but that seems to be pushing out of kids' hands and into, again, ours, so.
McFarlane toys have always leaned that way anyway. Yeah. But again, this just goes back to that whole, brief thing about Warner Brothers medals. They love the medal.
Yeah. If you're making any kind of YouTube video, I did one on the new Batman figure a couple of weeks ago, and you don't even put any clips, even if it's trailers, they'll flag you. Even if you have fair use, you have right. If you're talking about the subject, you can show 5 seconds of it or whatever. I don't even dare do that because you'll get taken right down. Wow. They love to do that. Banhammer, I call it.
Yep. Kings of the copyright strike.
Yeah. Thought that was Disney.
Well, they're almost as bad with Star Wars, but
yeah.
But like I said, as I showed from what Joe Mine, how many Batman do they think we really need? Almost as many roadblocks.
That goes all the way back too. That's that time-honored discussion. Like, do I need a yellow Batman and an underwater Batman and a flamethrower Batman?
Zebra Batman and
I mean, back in the 90s, that was them trying to keep up with Star Wars and the superhero figures, right? I mean, the Marvel figures, because Batman only has a finite number of enemies, especially when you're making figures based on Batman Forever or Batman Returns or something. You have a couple guys and
right.
But yeah, I remember I never liked any of that Arctic soldier Batman. It's like Batman doesn't put on that stuff to go in the snow. Like, and why is he going to the Arctic anyways? He stays in Gotham. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. Spacesuit Batman.
Yeah, spacesuit Batman. Like one guy that should not be in the Justice League. I never understood that either. But hey.
The animated series did that really well, where he was like, "I'll be around if you need me, but I'm not gonna be in this all the time." And he just go
wasn't
away.
He, if I remember correctly, wasn't he? Maybe I'm thinking of Super Friends. Wait, not Super Friends. Yeah, Super Friends. Wasn't he mostly in the Hall of Justice? Like didn't he stay behind and like I could see Batman like manning the computer and being the eyes for everybody. But he's best off when he fights mortal enemies like Joker and Penguin. He can't be fighting like Doomsday and like.
Well, yeah, it's that old joke like Bane's a big threat to the Batman, but to almost anyone else in the Justice League, he's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff like that. I remember when Dark Knight came out, there was a great, I think it was College Humor. It was a great Batman cartoon where he's like, he's called the Jokester. And Superman's like, oh, this guy? He's like, show him, and he grabs him by the collar. He's like, oh, this guy? He's like,
he chucks him into space and his head explodes. Yeah. Those are great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Superhero Cafe is what they were called.
Oh, there you
go. And remember, every once in a while, Spider-Man would come in and be like, hey, guys, can I hang out?
Good memory. That's a good memory.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jay,
Yes, sir.
favorite Joe memory?
Oh. Playing the Mass Device with my friends around the neighborhood, where the house I lived in and the house behind me, we would put two of the three elements, and then in the middle of both houses would be the third element, and just playing around the half block. It's Joe's versus Cobra, whoever. Well, you guys have seen the thing. It's still my favorite G.I. Joe episode. It's the very first one.
Yeah.
Just that race against time. I just loved playing that outside. It was so great. And then my second favorite would be when I got my flag in 2020 in the summer. Finally got my USS flag. Yeah, so those two memories.
very nice.
Awesome. Aaron, what's yours?
A lot of good memories. I just probably would say just going in, back when when I was buying the toys, I didn't get into it until like 86, 87. But going into the toy store and just seeing all the different, not only the current Joes are out, but also they had some of the older Joes from before I actually started were still in the store. So I, going and picking up some of these older, 84, 85 Joes that were still on the shelf. That was really great. That's probably one of my better memories is, just going in, going different, back in the 80s, going almost any store that had toys and seeing, rows of G.I. Joe. You don't see that now. I mean, even in the stores that sell the G.I. Joe, around here at least, I don't see very many of them. So,
Yeah.
I remember going back, going in, to different stores and Walgreens or Longs or whatever, they have the toy section. There's, G.I. Joe right there. So that's probably one of my favorite memories.
Yeah, there's so many. Chad, what's one of yours? Let's hear one of yours.
So when I was young, my mother was divorced, and she would, she worked a couple of jobs, and then she'd go to school at night to finish her degree. And my mom always did her best to make sure that my brother and I had great childhoods. And we would have a sitter, and my mom would come home, and the sitter would leave, and my mother would have her hands behind her back, and she would, ask me, "What's your address?" And I'd tell her our address. "What's your phone number?" And I'd tell her our phone number. And then my brother would do the same, and then she would pull out from behind her back action figures.
Oh, wow.
And it was every time. That's probably my single best G.I. Joe memory, even though it folds in other toy brands to an extent, but it's definitely my favorite Joe memory. It involves my mom a lot, but yeah, that. And then I'm going to be generic and say that my second favorite is also my flag. My wife bought me this flag. We were actually deployed when she bought it, and she forgot that she bid on it. So we deployed and we're operational, and you got to go here and go there, and it's very fluid what you're doing day to day. And she bid on this flag, and she forgot that she bid on it, and then she won it, and she was like, "Oh yeah," and it was great price, shipped. And she bought me this flag. It sat in boxes for about a year while I built this wall to accommodate. You know how big it is.
Yeah.
To accommodate the platform for it. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. When I finally built it, after I completed it and built the custom base and built it on the base, when I put that last deck pin in, I cried.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably my second favorite memory. And every time I walk in this room, it's like the first time I've seen it.
I'm sure that's not. Yeah, that's right.
It never gets old.
No, it is. Mine's. I'm so bad at this camera thing. Yeah. So
yeah, I do it too. I'm like this.
Yeah.
Mine's right there, and same thing, man. Every single day, I walk by it, and it's just like,
yeah,
it's the most insane. And I've played with Eternia, which is big.
You watched the guy break Eternia.
I did. But It's nothing like the flag. And there's those haters out there who call it a coffee table. It's like whatever, man. The thing that makes the flag so great is the decks, the 3-layer level decks. It's so cool. And I never had it as a kid. I knew the one kid who had it, who never let any of us play with it. Right. So I can only imagine what it would have been like as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I'll shoot some toy fights or something in the flag, because I just want to get in there and play in those little rooms. It's just so great.
Yeah,
Are you going to do mouth music?
that might be the next episode. Yeah.
It may be a coffee table, but you know what? That's the coolest freaking coffee table ever.
Yeah,
I mean,
Aaron,
carrier. It's flat. That's what they look like, right?
Yeah,
so anyone who says it's a coffee table, I'm like, well, I guess, but you just think about how big G.I. Joe must have been in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember right before the pandemic hit, I was on a show with Larry Hama, and he was explaining to us, he's like, G.I. Joe was so friggin' big that this idea was millions and millions of dollars to engineer a 7.5 foot play set.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The molds alone.
Yeah, it was massive.
First of all, the price tag on it was $120 back then, which is insane. And what kid would be able to house this in their bedroom? Because with the flag, and take out any custom tables or whatever you built for them, you can't move it once it's put together. You can't move it. You can't pick it up, right? And putting it together and taking it apart is something I do not recommend, because it's so fragile. So they thought this was a great idea. It's insane, man.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to how gangbusters G.I. Joe was back then. When they were coming up with the concept of it, late 83, 84, and they were like, oh, we're just going to do this. Here you go, Jay. I'm gonna spaz you out. Look at how busy that is.
Is that lit up? Oh wow.
Yeah. So the bottom is lit, and then
bottom,
I have the runway lit too. But I was just showing you the vehicles on the deck, and
a little bit of flexing never hurt anybody, right?
No. Just
From the chat,
I always give you crap about your deck.
From the chat, talking about your favorite memory. Chris Clement says that his is finding his first Cobra officer in a Toys R Us, and then he followed up with, apparently someone tried to hide the officer between some Hot Wheel cases, and he scored him.
I love that. I love when people think they're slick and they hide figures, and you're like, bam, got it.
Yeah, see that a lot still, which is hilarious that grown adults are doing this still.
Take them to the Barbie aisle, bottom shelf, tuck them in the back.
Yeah. Simple Tricks and Nonsense. He says similar childhood as Chad. His dad was a single parent. He'd get him toys and leave him in the truck and tell him to go get his briefcase out of the truck, knowing I'd see the toy.
That's awesome, John. That's really cool.
Very nice. And
I want to actually comment about that too. My mom and I, we had a tough go, right? Our dad wasn't the greatest. I should say my dad was not the greatest. So, showing emotion and expressing things like that was very difficult.
Yeah.
So she would often do it with these toys, which is why people ask me all the time, I have such love for this stuff, because they all represent my mom in some way or another, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being Star Wars or Transformers, they all have that meaning. And that's something that, money can't buy that stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just, that's what I love about this hobby so much, is they represent, it's like music, right? You can hear a song and it brings you right back to grade 5 or whatever. Same thing with toys.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. The same thing. Not necessarily with my mom per se, but yeah, just seeing a lot of these older figures.
Sure.
I got rid of a lot of them when I moved out of my mom's house. I got rid of everything when I moved out of my mom's house, because I have the room and they want to look at all the stuff with me. I was 19, 20, whatever. And now looking back, I'm trying to get some of this older stuff back, because just these older toys remind me when I was younger, and living at home, I didn't have any responsibilities. Living home with my mom, it was. Yeah, no, it brings back a lot of memories.
Well, and that's kind of the weird thing, is like everything has that sort of, tactile importance to it.
Mm-hmm.
I can pick up this devilfish, and I can have a specific set of memories of when I used to play with my devilfish when I was a kid. And then I can, pick up a his tank and kind of have a different set of memories, but all relatable to the same subject.
Right. Yeah, and we're talking about the flag.
Yeah.
Mind it says the coffee table is how the designers of the flag referred to the flag. They were proud of it.
It should be.
Oh yeah, very much so. And then he also said that apparently they spoke with Kirk, and he said the flag complex was the most expensive vehicle from the design perspective. The gantry cost them $2 million to design or hold, and that's $1986.
Isn't that the only part that really holds up? Is that mechanism? I don't have a Defiant. I don't even want to get into that mess, but
yeah, I mean, that's a great play set. Rob and I go back and forth. Yeah, right.
Hector,
Elite Legend toys,
because he's in the Defiant court and I'm in the flag court. There's no comparison. I don't even think you can compare the two, man. They're not in the same league. Other than the fact that the Defiant's huge too. The two figures are worth a lot, sure, but it's not even close to the same, in my opinion. But
yeah, I don't equate the two. I just put them in that category of like G.I. Joe grails. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but a Terradrome is different from a flag, like a flag is different from a Defiant.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have those bigger toys like that, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, something about the flag seems, I don't know if more special is the right word, but it seems different than the Terradrome or the Defiant or, any of these other larger vehicle or bases or whatever.
It's just one of those pinnacles of like 80s toys.
Yeah.
Like, so Masters has the Eternia, G.I. Joe has the flag. I mean, it's just huge, that the only one that I ever saw as a kid, one of my buddies had one. He was like that spoiled, pampered kid. And he would lie on it. He would walk across it. He was just like, whatever. I'm not worried about it. But
yeah,
I waited my whole life to get one.
Well, I said when I was a kid, I had any friends. So, I mean, it was in G.I. Joe. So I didn't have a rich friend that had the flag.
Yeah, this kid had one in our neck of the woods, and it was, I don't know what you guys call it in the States, grade 8, grade 7, grade 8. So we were almost into high school, right?
Yeah.
So
middle school is what we call it.
There you go. Yeah. So
great.
toys weren't cool, and he got this for like Christmas, and it kind of just sat in his basement. It was like brand new, minty. He didn't touch it. I remember going down there. I'm like, dude, you have the flag? He's like, oh yeah, whatever. That just sits down there. And I was a late bloomer, right? So I didn't stop buying toys till I was almost 16, which was like crazy, man. Like you don't do that stuff. And I remember going through the toy stores and stuff, like going through Walmart and going to the toy aisle, and I felt really embarrassed and weird. You're discovering girls, and I know I still wanted these things, but I couldn't buy them. And then Todd McFarlane came out with Movie Maniacs in the year 2000, 99, 2000. And then he was like, no, it's okay, boys. Come on back.
Yeah.
Again, I was like, then it was kind of like, oh, okay. Well, if Todd McFarlane is making these things, then I guess we can. And then I remember everyone got back into collecting Joe and Transformers and all that stuff. It was great.
McFarlane was always teasing that sort of like older teen, young adult collector, like ever since they came out of the gate with Spawn figures, like their higher articulations. It's just like the deco and everything was just that much more.
Yeah, Chris, Movie Maniacs. I remember my favorite horror movie at the time was Chainsaw 1. And I remember seeing the Leatherface figure. I'm like, I was just so blown away. And the way it was presented. And then there was the official movie poster behind it and everything. I'm like, this is just the coolest thing. And then Jason and Freddy and all that stuff. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, you were talking about how, you're 16, getting kind of embarrassed to buy the toys. I didn't start buying G.I. Joe toys till I was 16 or 17. And by that time I realized it had nothing to do with me. So you know what, the heck with it. I embraced it. I went in, bought the toys I wanted. I didn't have that. Of course, again, that may be part of my problem in life is I don't have shame, but that's
no, man. I think that's good what you did. And not a lot of people do that where it's like you love something and you don't care what people think, right? For me, I think back then it was just like toys had one purpose. You played with them.
Right.
Nobody collected toys.
Right.
And I knew, right? It's the same as like when a new video game console came out. Nobody wanted the NES. they wanted the Super Nintendo, right? They don't want the old graphics. Get rid of that crappy thing, get the new thing. So with toys, it was like you played with them. That was their only function. And I remember, though I didn't want to play with them, I still wanted to get the newest whatever and just put it in my house because it was cool. But
And
good for you for doing that.
Simple Trick says, what age did it become okay to begin to display toys? While chasing girls and dating teens to my early 30s, I kept the toys hidden in storage. Well, again, I can't answer for everyone else. I know for myself, it was always okay. I got out of buying toys just because I moved out of my mom's house. I didn't have the extra money. I was buying comics. But I was proud of buying comics. I didn't hide anything. And the few action figures I did buy, I bought some of the Spawn ones that Chad was talking about, some of the DC, heroes back in the 90s. I gladly left them out, and I don't worry about what other people think. And again, that's part of my problem in life is I don't care too much what other people think, but it is what it is,
You know what? People who spend time worrying about that, it's like the people that you think are worrying about you don't even have their shit together. So
exactly,
it's best to just live your life, live it how you want. Don't hurt anybody, just go in peace, do what you want. There's going to be people who make fun of you. There's going to be people that don't agree with you, and that's fine, man. Just, okay, you do your thing and we'll do our thing, right?
Like the Irredeemable Shag over on the Fire and Water podcast network says, find your joy. That's his big mantra. Find your joy. Look at
the world we're living in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's going on, and I'm not going to get into all of it, but everything that's going on, where literally day to day, it's like, okay, well, now what? Now what's going on?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you know what? If I want to go and buy an aircraft carrier that's going to make me happy, I'm going to do it. That's just the way it is, right?
From the chat, What's on Joe Mind says he got out of G.I. Joe in 1987-ish, got back in college in late 95, bought a Slugger with Thunder and on eBay for $11. Very nice.
Yeah, the late 90s was great for cleaning up on that stuff. You could get that. Nobody wanted it.
Right.
Nobody wanted the old toys or the old video games, right? So you could clean up back then.
Not like that now.
No, it's not like that now.
No. You get in a bidding war for something just average, run of the mill now. Everybody's just trying to scoop everything up and hoard it.
As Chris says, he was playing hockey after high school and goalie, so all his money went into gear.
Yeah, we all kind of have that thing, right? Where it's like we were into toys and then we moved on to blah, so music or comic books, video games. Video games took over a lot of this stuff because you were still playing.
Yeah.
Right. You just weren't physically playing. You were still playing with characters, but
that's kind of one of those things between video games and toys or action figures or however you want to articulate that. Is a lot of us who play video games have always played video games. I got in with the Atari 2600 when I was little, and I have never stopped playing video games. I've never stopped buying game systems my whole life. But toys, I had a giant gap with action figures. Giant gap.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just there's something about, at least me personally, going through puberty and discovering girls, and my buddies were into girls, and then we were hanging out with the girls, and it just didn't seem right anymore. I didn't mean I didn't love the characters,
right?
Because I could still watch the movies or I could still read the comic books, but acting them out and stuff like that, it felt wrong. It felt not right.
Well, the fantasy role play and all that stuff, it kind of goes to a different point of attention in your life. Like I went from toys to skateboarding to playing music, and then I got in the military, and then I finally got back into toys.
And then it all comes back full circle, right? Because then you're back in an age where you don't give a shit anymore. It's like, I did a video a month ago, right? It's snowing outside. I'm like, I just went out there with my camera and I'm like, I'm going to just take some still pictures of the snowcat.
Yep.
And then just for fun, I started like acting out the figures and I had this story and I'm like, this is fun. I'm going to do it again. I just don't care, right?
I laughed the whole time throughout that video.
Thank you.
The whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Mouth music. Yeah.
Mouth music.
Matt Wilkinson says he just saw Ninja Force Storm Shadow for $125 on eBay.
It's one of your fellow Canadians there, Jay.
Hey, man, what's up, dude? Ninja
So-
Force version 3. Yeah, he's wicked. I love that figure, except the articulation on it. But I love the design of the version 3 Storm Shadow. He's wicked.
And Chris has a good comment. Funny thing about chasing girls, the toys are cheaper and they never give you crap back.
Well,
Amen.
I said this from the very beginning of my adult years. I said, whoever is going to be with me, whoever I choose, or whoever chooses me, they're going to accept everything about me, and
Mhm.
that's the way it is. I've never had a partner I've never had a girlfriend that's been like, oh my God, like, what are you doing with this stuff? Never.
Right.
I wouldn't be with them. You always hear these stories about, you watch Pawn Stars or whatever, and this guy brings in this collection. It's like, well, I just got married. The wife's making me get rid of the collection. It's like, dude, that's like your soul. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Telling me you're not going to resent her in about a year? Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's craziness. Why people want people to change like that. I'll never get it. Never understand it.
Like growing up, I had a friend of mine that he was very much that way. I mean, he would like reading the comics,
Yeah.
and we'd share comics and stuff. But then, yeah, he'd get around the girls. He'd act totally different. He didn't want to be seen around me and my friends. He didn't want to, talk about comics or anything when the girls are around. He acts a different way. And I'm like, you know what? You need to be who you are. Otherwise you're just fake.
Yeah, I can understand that being a kid. You learn those lessons, right? They're the lessons you have to go through. But as an adult, yeah, I mean, if you have a problem with it, like if you're spending more than you're earning, or if you're spending more and you don't have enough to pay rent or pay bills, yeah, sure, dude, of course,
Yeah.
that's a red flag, right? But if you're doing it just to make yourself happy and it doesn't hurt anybody and it doesn't take up too much of the house ish.
I've always had a good phrase that I try to live by, that every opportunity is a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And
That's good,
I have to say that I'm fortunate in the fact that my wife, she encourages and supports my Joe collecting.
It's wonderful.
It's not a bad habit, if you want to call it a habit, but it's not a bad hobby or pursuit or love to have.
Right.
She bought my whale. She bought my flag. She bought one of those 2 tarot drums, and on and on and on. Like she's very supportive of it. All I do is collect toys. I don't do anything else.
Right.
So like I provide. I never live outside of my means, and I buy some toys here and there.
Yeah, Mike's taken off. He says, great chat, guys. He'll catch us later on.
Thanks for coming.
And yeah, my wife's bought me, several Joes, or, in fact, I know one time I forget if it was the Cobra Commander behind the podium or one of the Joe figures I was looking at. We found out that me and her actually ended up bidding on the same figure. Because she was trying to get it for me without me knowing, and I'm like, I need to get that, so I was bidding on it.
You guys are jacking up the price. And you're like, what's going on here? I can't beat this person.
Several figures she's bought me. She made me some T-shirts and light bulbs and stuff, or not light bulbs, but Christmas bulbs. So she very much feeds my habit.
Yeah, I mean, and that's great that you guys have that. You have to be with people that support you, and that's friends too, right? You have to surround yourself with people that will nurture you and they won't tear you down. As we get older, those people who come into your life, I don't have time for that.
Yep.
I don't even fire back. If someone says something snotty on YouTube or whatever, it's just I delete it. I don't have time.
Right.
Yeah, and that's even in the collecting space. I know a lot of other collectors. Again, we surround ourselves with like-minded people, and just yesterday, a bunch of us were talking about our display options and how do you display stuff. And, one of the guys showed his displays, and they're completely pristine, and everything's like graded in cases and clamshells, and it looks like a museum.
Yeah.
That's not my thing at all. But I'm not going to tear him down for it. I was just like, right on. If that's your thing, then that's your thing. But I think all too often, too many people want to enforce their opinions on things. And at the same time, it's like, it's just for the love of what you do.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I don't knock anybody for the way they want to have it displayed. But when you start preaching to other people about how you should display your stuff, just live your life. And, everyone should just live their life.
Sure. Numerous times I've gotten, like a San Diego Comic-Con figure, and those 2008, 2000, that era figures, they're expensive. But that's where I'm at in my collecting is I only need all those con exclusives now, but I open them. And when I open them, like a lot of people will delaminate. Like, well, why did you open that figure? Well, because that's why I bought it. Don't worry about what I'm doing.
Your answer should be is that I don't have to explain myself to you or anybody.
No.
Like you bought it with the money that you worked very hard to get. You can burn it if you want.
Sure.
It's like, oh, how can you do that to that artifact? It's like, because I wanted to. And why am I answering to you?
Because I want to put my hands on it. I want to play with it. I want to pose it. I want to enjoy it and love it in the way that I'm going to love it. It's like my customs. People like to, they'll sharpshoot your customs. Oh, it doesn't transform. No, it doesn't transform. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. It's what you want, Well, it's like I have a problem with slabbed comics. People send the comics in and they get them slabbed between plastic. You can never open it again. And I'm like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of a comic book. I mean,
yeah,
if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I just don't understand that. I mean, comics are made to be read and enjoyed. And I don't know. It's just me.
So this here is my favorite Joe of all time. And I'm not, I don't set out to collect every Joe on card. I think that's, in the good words of Carson, it's a ticking time bomb, to be quite honest with the O-ring. But I love Storm Shadow. So I said, if I was to ever get a carded Real American Hero, I want 88 Storm Shadow. That's it. And I found him. So I have about, 4 or 5 loose ones, and then I have this one. I'm completely happy with that. You know what I mean?
Very nice.
So if I love something crazy like that, I'll get the carded version and I'll have a loose version too. But I don't feel the need to have everyone on card. I mean, Carson's posters are so great, man. I would rather put the money into those, and then, you can just look at that.
Mm-hmm.
About spending the thousands, especially Joe's now are so expensive.
There's plenty of times I sit in this room facing in this other direction, just staring at all my posters.
Yeah. And eventually every single O-ring will dry rot. I'm sure you've seen sealed Joes that are cut in half.
Yeah.
Well, what happened? Well, the O-ring rotted. That could be from not storing it properly or whatever the case is. It's going to happen to every Joe that has an O-ring eventually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the people who display their O-ring Joes and then they just explode on the shelf.
Yeah.
That happens too. So there was a comment. It was more of a question. I think we kind of cruised past it. Jay, have you heard about the Haya Toys 4-inch Joes that are coming out?
Refresh me on that one.
So Haya Toys announced that they're going to start producing a line of, 4-inch. So like the modern Joes, the 25th, 50th Pursuit of Cobra that came out, but they're going to come out with their own line of 1/18 scale Joes, but it's going to be its own thing.
Okay, so it's another company other than Hasbro?
Right. So Haya Toys is now taking over the 4-inch modern articulation.
I have no problem with that stuff, but I'll collect the vintage stuff. That's just me.
Yeah.
If they were to roll out a business plan and say, yes, we are going to release all 500 original Joes, that might be something I'm a little more interested in. But at the same time, here's a thought. Tell me what you guys think about this. Making new characters.
Yeah.
There was, I think, one new character for the Snake Eyes movie. Okay, 1 or 2 maybe. It's like, why don't you just make new Real American Hero characters?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Even make figures of the new characters in the comics.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a ton of characters I know nothing about after the Marvel comic, right? I've only read a few of the IDW stuff.
Yeah, they were cranking new characters out.
Yeah, I know Snake Eyes died and he's got a daughter or something like that. I don't know. But I know there's another Snake Eyes or something like that. But that's cool, man. I would be more inclined to buy new figures like that. And then the vintage Real American Hero stuff, I'll finish that off. And then the new stuff, you buy new characters. I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see new characters and not 6th Roadblock.
Yeah, that I don't understand. Roblox's a great character. Why so many so quickly? I don't know, man.
Yeah, we've beat that argument up.
Yeah.
If it's a heavy artillery thing, where's rock and roll? He was the first heavy artillery trooper. Why didn't rock and roll get any love?
Why wasn't Cobra Island Roadblock heavy duty?
Yeah. Where's all the original 12? Like or 13, I should say. Where's Zap? Where's Flash? Short Fuse, Clutch. All those guys are amazing.
Oh yeah, very nice. Yeah.
And they waited that long to do Stalker.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
Stalker should have been one of the first ones, in my opinion. Especially
there's one of my favorite Joe figures is the Tommy Arashikage figure from the 2006 comic book pack, where you see it's the Vietnam story, right? Joe 26. Love that pack. I have those figures. They're so wicked. But yeah, like, and even this Snake Eyes movie, I mean, this is a whole other thing. I'm sure you guys have talked about it a ton, but
let's go there.
Why do these Hollywood producers want to buy these IPs and then they take the source material and throw it out? They did it as early as like Street Fighter. They just trash Street Fighter. Snake Eyes is literally zero to do with that character other than he's called Snake Eyes. And he talks.
Yeah.
Like, what?
They don't even show him in the helmet until the very end of the movie. Like, that's that gotcha moment. And as soon as I saw the poster and he's holding it back like that, I was like, it's a motorcycle helmet.
And let me guess. And I haven't seen it. I must admit, I've never seen it. I will not watch that.
Don't.
So he's what at the end? Let me guess. He puts it on, then turns to the camera, right? And then it's like the end.
He walks out of the temple, he puts it on, and then the visor kind of locks down.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm gonna go find Tommy. And he gets on this motorcycle and drives off.
He says that?
Just don't watch it, Jay.
I'm good.
Like, I don't know how you feel about Batman and Robin, but you remember that time frame when Batman and Robin came out in like Steel and all those movies where you're like, man, they have no idea what they're doing. It's like that.
The Schumacher Batman, right?
Yeah. The all Schumacher one.
Yeah. I mean that. I don't know if you guys follow Red Letter Media. They're great bunch of guys on YouTube, very adult, but they just. I was watching a commentary on Batman and Robin. They did, and besides cutting it up and making jokes about all the stuff that you can, I think that one was made for kids because it's well known that Schumacher went to the toy companies and said, "Design us vehicles." So they were putting in the toy designs in the Batman and Robin, which is why near the end, for no reason, they all have vehicles that have like ice blades and stuff on it. It's like, why would
they were prepared
that in Gotham City for the event that you might fight an ice guy? Like,
the Bat ice skate fan boat thing.
Well, remember Batman and Robin at one point, they're on their back, they got pushed over or something, and they click their heels together, and ice skates coming out of the bottom of their boots.
Yeah, with the first freeze fight.
Yeah.
So I can't help but to think that that's an Adam West-ish Batman. It can't be serious. It's not like the Tim Burton stuff.
No, and that's where that Snake Eyes movie goes. It's basically the equivalent of George Clooney pulling out his Bat credit card, like never leave home without it. Like that movie. There are a couple little gems in that movie. You're like, okay, I can see that. Yeah. But a lot of it is just bad, man. It's tone deaf. It's weird. And the only thing that makes him Snake Eyes is black suit and ninja fighting.
Yep.
That's it. Tommy's the good guy. Snake Eyes, like, he's a liar. He's a manipulator. He uses and abuses everybody the whole movie nonstop.
Yeah. That was, besides the race change, that was my biggest issue with the movie was the Snake Eyes character was nothing like Snake Eyes
at all.
Yeah, and it's like you destroy his origins, and I think the reason is because they didn't want to tell a Vietnam story, which is, I mean, I guess I mean, what happened to like being able to tell stories that had some balls?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like Vietnam was a thing. I don't want to glorify it. Of course not. But that was the story that Larry wrote.
Right.
He put them in the Vietnam War, and they went through hell and high water together. That's why Stalker is so important. The three of them were in the same group. And they completely just throw that out, and now he's like some street fighter or something like that. He's like he fights for money in the streets, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Well, even if they updated it and made it Afghanistan or something like that, that's fine. But the whole war setting sets up the bond between the three of them, and especially between Tommy and Snake Eyes.
Yes.
And it carries over into their relationship throughout everything they go through, either with or against each other. And that whole dynamic is gone.
And Snake Eyes, to me, in the comic, was always an honorable person. He always did the right thing. He wasn't gonna, say somebody's his best friend and lie to him the entire time and stab him in the back, cause him to be disowned by his clan, and supposed to be the hero of the story.
And Storm Shadow is not a villain either, which is hilarious. If you read the Larry Hama stuff, again, I heard he went back and forth in the stuff after Marvel. Sure, I'm talking about the Marvel stuff. He was never a bad guy.
No.
He simply entered the ranks of Cobra to find out who killed his uncle.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got in tight with Cobra Commander and found out it was Zartan. I loved that. That was such a great story, and how Zartan was such a wicked character too. Not like the stupid bumbling swamp dweller he is in the cartoon.
Yeah.
Which I get, you can't show a Vietnam cartoon. I get that. But
in the cartoon, everyone is a bit more bumbling. And
in the book, he's so great, and he's like a real threat, and he sneaks in and he assassinates Softmaster and all that stuff. And it's like, oh my God, now Storm Shadow has to find out who it is. It was so great. They didn't use any of that.
No. Yeah, no, they none of that. Yeah. And I knew there was going to be changes, and I prepared myself for them, but I didn't prepare myself enough.
No, there's no preparing enough for that. There just really wasn't.
I go to eat at a local restaurant here, and I'm friends with the owner, and he was like, so, he knows I'm a big, comic book fan. He's like, so Snake Eyes, how was it? I'm like, oh, it was a decent action movie, but if you're going for a Snake Eyes / G.I. Joe movie, it was horrible.
I just rewatched Enter the Ninja the other night. Like, I'll watch that.
Oh, dude, I saw you post that. I'm a huge fan of Shogazugi. So, like Revenge of the Ninja is one of my favorite 80s movies. The second
Mine too.
Trilogy. It's so underrated, but I just imagine if Sho was a lot younger. I don't even know if he's still alive. I think he is.
He is.
Is he still alive? Yeah. So if Sho played Storm Shadow, like back in the day, how friggin' amazing that would have been. Like, he would have been so great.
Or even his son Kane. His son Kane's he's awesome too.
Yes. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, that movie's great, and it's got balls and guts, but so did everything from the 80s. No one cared. Because it was just like, there wasn't this, like, and I call it cancel culture. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be aware of people's feelings. Of course you should.
Right.
But what happened to this movie is rated R because it has all this stuff.
Right.
If you don't like it, you don't like it, and that's your right not to like it. But maybe some of us do like that stuff.
Yeah. Revenge of the Ninja with the hot tub in the intro.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
you know what you're getting into as soon as you see that.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah.
It's on social media, people say, they don't like a TV show. Like, for instance, I'm on this one app and they're talking about the Goldbergs. Like, oh, they need to cancel it. Everyone's like, they need to cancel this. If you don't like it, stop watching it. There's people that still enjoys the show. Let them enjoy it. No reason to call for it to be canceled just because you don't like it for whatever reason.
I got sucked into the Goldbergs because of all of Adam's cool toys. Like, he's got the flag, he's got Voltron. Like, every episode, I'm like, oh man, I want that.
I've never seen it.
It's a good show.
I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest.
It's a sitcom. It's a sitcom based in the 80s about this kid, Adam Goldberg, and his family, and he, like a coming of age kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's like the toy. He's like the little geek kid.
Right.
And it's been on 9 years now, and my problem with the show, I'm about ready to stop it myself because no one grows. It's the same thing episode after episode. They learn a lesson, and the next episode they're right back to where they were at originally. Which, it's, I guess, the standard for sitcom, but I watched The Simpsons for so long because nothing changes. So kind of the same thing. But yeah, if they want to keep doing the show and people enjoy it, more power to them. But a couple comments real quick from the chat. Chris is dude, if they followed the comic, that movie would rule. That's what we talked about. Yeah, if they would have, issues 26 and 27 plus a couple other issues here and there.
Can I comment on that, Aaron? Actually, again, I think that would be a great idea in theory, but now that I think about it, it's like Larry wrote it so great. It's like you can digitally right now in 5 seconds read that issue, read those 2 or 3 issues.
Mhm.
Let's just get something new. Can you just not write a new G.I. Joe story? Like there's this constant need to relive everything that we've done over and over again. I saw a great interview with Chris Gore actually a few days ago where he's talking about you now have a generation of filmmakers that are just obsessed with the previous film, with the previous work. So you have J.J. Abrams copying the stuff that George did. You have Ryan Johnson who tries something new and then he gets crucified for it.
Right.
So all these filmmakers, they're not having their own experiences in life. They're just copying.
Right.
Other filmmakers. I totally agree. It was like one of the most brilliant statements that I've heard in a long time. And it makes sense. And I think you can put that towards music, video games, film, toys.
Yeah, we're in the time of the soft reboot.
Yeah.
It's just this constant because we keep buying into it. We keep buying the figures. We keep seeing the reboot of what would you say is the most rebooted film franchise? I mean, like Spider-Man over and over again, Batman over and over again. And it's like these filmmakers grew up on all this pop culture stuff. So it's this constant reference because they want to put their stamp in it.
Right.
Gareth Edwards is a perfect example who did Rogue One. That movie is just, honest to God, I cannot stand Rogue One. I think it's one of the worst Star Wars movies because it's just it's this constant, hey, there's Walrus Man. Remember him? Hey, there's the blue milk at the beginning. Like they do a close-up shot of a glass of milk.
Yeah, they have to zoom in on it.
Remember when Luke drank that? Remember how cool that was? Stop.
Here's your member berry.
Member berries, man. It's dangerous. It's like if you are lucky enough to be able to write a Star Wars story, come up with your own stuff. You're going to get attacked for it, but you know what? You've made your original thing. Stop trying to put your imprint on Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. Create your own stuff. There you go. Here's my rant.
Yeah.
Well, and as Simple Trick says in the chat, it's easier for them to make up stuff rather than replicate what came before. There are expectations and benchmarks that exist with pre-established stories. Hollywood can't take that pressure.
Well, there's fourth quarter, right? You got to make these big studios money.
Right.
You have to, right? And that's the problem. And no one takes a chance anymore.
Yeah.
A sequel is good if it's part of a larger story, but sequels for the sake of, well, we already established these characters, we just want to make some more money, like you see where that goes. And you see that a lot with the new Spider-Man movies. So a lot of people, they bashed on Tobey Maguire, and then they bashed on Andrew Garfield, and then here comes No Way Home, and everybody's like, oh man, they were so great. Look at how great they are. It's like a couple years ago, you were slamming them. It's the same thing with Hayden Christensen. Like people put Hayden Christensen through the ringer. And now they're like, oh, cool, he's coming back for the Obi-Wan series. That's so great. It's like, you guys all crucified him.
Yeah, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was my favorite.
I loved him.
I think he's great. I loved him in Social Network. I think that's the only thing I've seen him in, right? But he's an amazing Spider-Man, no pun intended. And there's this lazy thing happening. It's been happening in comic books for decades. It's called the multi-universe. Yeah, and it's an excuse, in my opinion, for lazy writing. Now, the new thing is like the new Doctor Strange is going to open up the gates to all this. So now they're talking Jon Favreau, who played Foggy in Daredevil in 2003 when Ben Affleck was Daredevil. Now they're teasing that he's going to be in it. So you're going to have Ben Affleck Daredevil, then you're going to have Charlie Cox Daredevil. Why? See,
they brought back an Xavier.
I'm a
Patrick Stewart's Xavier.
Patrick Stewart isn't there like a shot of the back of his head or something I heard?
Yeah, and then you hear his voice.
Yes, I'm sorry. I like the multiverse stuff myself, so I'm not going to play.
That's fair. That's totally fair, dude. Yeah. And I would really like to hear from somebody who's like the opposite of what I think of it. So what do you like about it? Like, what is so great about the Spider-Man? And I haven't seen it, by the way.
Right. Well, I like as far as Spider-Man, I thought Tobey Maguire did a great Peter Parker. I liked Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I thought he did a great Spider-Man. And personally, I think that Tom Holland did great on both of them. And the thing I like about the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies is that, well, yes, it was a reboot of it. They didn't, like the first two, they didn't rehash Uncle Ben's murder. Uncle Ben did get murdered again. They started where he was already Spider-Man, and they skipped a lot of stuff because we've seen it in the last decade or two. We've seen it twice already, not counting how many times it's repeated in the comics and everything else, and the cartoons and all this. So that's one great thing I think about the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. They kind of skipped that portion of the story.
But what's so great about the multiverse other than the member berries?
And maybe that may be part of it for me, is just that I like the fact that they're kind of recognizing that these other movies are out there and that they could just ignore it and say, well, this didn't happen. But I do like the fact that they are admitting that, the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, as bad as I may have thought it was, they're admitting that it happened. It's out there somewhere. And yes, a lot of the time writers can use like you were saying, can use the multiverse to be lazy writers. But I think that done properly, it can make for some interesting stories.
But look at what DC's doing. So now they're bringing back Michael Keaton's Batman. They got three different Batmen running around. Like, I don't.
So for me, you're creating with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In my opinion, I think you're creating worlds without consequence. What difference does it make if Spider-Man dies? It doesn't make any difference because there'll be some way that they can bring him back. And again, honestly, it's one reason I stopped reading comic books in the 90s, because I was there day one when Superman 75 came out and he got beat to death 6 months straight by Doomsday through all these different Superman issues. Right. And then they find this loophole where, the doctors, his heart slowed down to regenerate so slow that the doctors couldn't register a heartbeat and he's alive. And I was so disappointed because I cried. My guts got ripped out. I was so invested. I can't believe DC did this. They friggin' killed Superman. Oh, no, they didn't really do that. And I was just like, what?
Well, and then they rope-a-doped you again with the return of the Supermen with the 4 of them. And then you had the Cyborg one and you had the teenager, and you're like, is that Cyborg one really him? Because he's damaged where Superman was injured, and nope, it's not it. No.
See, I was a bit older, so maybe we're jaded. I knew they were going to keep him dead. I knew they were going to bring back Superman as Clark Kent, as he normally looks at some point.
No, he had a mullet. He came back with a mullet. Come on.
It wasn't really a mullet, but it depends on the artist. But I'm going to say it wasn't really a mullet, it was just long hair. But
so for me, when death is taken out of any story, any fantasy story like that, there's really no stakes.
Yeah,
and that's a big problem for me. One reason I love Star Wars is because 1 through 9, whatever you think about it is what you think about it, but it's still Luke is Luke, and he goes through this story. Anakin is Anakin. This is what happens to him.
Right.
You can do whatever you want in between and make up stories, but they've still kept the continuity of what's happened. There's no, Luke got killed and all of a sudden he's back. Do you know what I mean? So that's just what I'm used to. And again, it's what turned me off of comic books. This constant need of having to have this one consistent Star Wars like story is something I think that comic book movies just need to throw out the window.
Yeah.
Comic books don't do that.
It's like Endgame and bringing back Gamora.
I don't even remember. Did she came back? Did she die?
Yeah.
I don't remember, man. Yeah.
Well, she died in Infinity War, and then in Endgame, there's the alternate version of Gamora.
From
2000. The alternate version. So it's. I just don't like it. I think it's dumb. I think it's just lazy writing, and I'll stick by that.
And I can see where you're coming from. Real quick, from the chat, we have Chris Clements ask McAvoy or Stewart.
We are completely off the G.I. Joe rails now.
Yeah.
It happens, yeah.
What do you say, Jay? McAvoy or Stewart?
Stewart. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care.
Which is
That's my answer. I don't care. I thought Days of Future Past was good, but it had them both. So I don't know if that's a lazy answer. I'll be honest, I was never all that invested in the X-Men. Never was. I was a Batman kid growing up. I've always been a Batman guy.
Matt says the multiverse in the comics is awesome. The movies, not so much.
And you know what? I'm going to nitpick too because I love Wolverine, but as
Right.
soon as they cast Hugh Jackman, I was out. And he's a great actor, but Wolverine's not 6'2", and he didn't act like Wolverine to me. And like Wolverine was obviously the Marvel comics and the great stories that Larry Hama wrote. And also the 90s X-Men cartoon did a great job of depicting Wolverine.
Oh, that cartoon's so good.
Hugh Jackman, it just wasn't Wolverine to me.
He's Glenn Danzig.
Danzig should have been Wolverine. I said that forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Oh, yeah.
He would be angry enough.
Oh, yeah.
On the multiverse, simple trick says multiverses are a get out of jail free card. It means you don't have to have sweat continuity or have a plan for the big picture. It's a scatter shot where hopefully something hits.
Yep.
And yeah, I can see that. I like the multiverse done right. Unfortunately, too many people, as Jay said, use it for a lazy way of writing. And yeah, they use it to get out of consequences. So yeah, and I can definitely see where you guys are coming from. Yeah, I'm not going to argue.
Don't get me wrong. It's very cool to see. That would be like, just say all the Bonds were alive still. That would be like seeing all the Bonds in one shot. If there was a scene where they're all together for someone. I mean, that would be just cool to see, of course. And I think that's the problem where we're swept away by seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield together.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful of an image, right? So, I'm sure I'll like the movie for what it is. But
they wrote it well. I will say that they wrote it well. There's some very emotionally heavy scenes in that movie.
Yeah. And that may be part because I enjoyed, except for Spider-Man 3, I enjoyed Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. I enjoy Andrew Garfield's movies, Spider-Man movies. I enjoyed them, but so seeing them back as Spider-Man, part of it's the nostalgia factor of it is the fact that they're back and seeing an older version of those characters that, I loved the movies when they were out. I don't mind rewatching them because I enjoy them. And then seeing them as a slightly older version of those characters.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with, I like the Batman movies because their different trilogies are from different directors and they all have their own flavor. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you need to have this constant one big timeline. I'm not trying to contradict myself with the Star Wars stuff. I'm just saying, you can enjoy the Adam West Batman TV show. If that's your Batman, that's fine. Yeah. I like the Christopher Nolan Batman. And I even like Robert, I always mess his name up.
Pattinson.
That movie is wicked, right? I like that. Joel Schumacher, not so much, right? But
there's
ahead,
there's a Batman for everyone. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. There's a Batman for everyone. There's a Spider-Man for everyone, and like Carson, there's a Lieutenant Falcon for everyone. You talk to Carson about Lieutenant Falcon and talk to him about that G.I. Joe movie Falcon, and he will give you an opinion. But that's just how that is. So you have the Larry Hama comic G.I. Joe continuity, then maybe you have your own toy continuity. Then there's the Sunbow series. Then you bring in Cobra Law, and then you see all sorts of opinions on Cobra Law, and then you go into the Deke series. So sure, there's different versions of Joe. I mean, look at Shipwreck in the cartoon and look at Shipwreck in the comics.
Mm-hmm. Totally different.
Look at Robert Pattinson's Batman. Look at Ben Affleck's Batman. They're just different.
I think we're so spoiled, right? There's so much to choose from. It's like
I've been saying for a while now. Now's a great time to be a geek because back when we were kids, you get the occasional movie here or there, usually low quality, but you know what? It was great because we got something.
I guess I was just gonna say, I guess people think of it like I've seen so many people act like it's the end of the world. If you don't like Pattinson Batman, if you didn't like the movie, you got to watch the movie first. That one you got to watch, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like it and you like the Christopher Nolan Batman, that's fine. Then like the Christopher Nolan Batman, but these people just can't let go. It's like, oh, they've ruined Batman, this and that. I'm like, there's been about 4 million Batman stories, different continuities, different timelines. It's like, if it's not exactly what they want, it's like, oh, I'm done with Batman. I'm done with everything. It's like, well, wait another couple of years until another movie comes out, but you don't have to stop liking a franchise because you didn't like this director's vision. Otherwise, I would have stopped liking Star Wars a long time ago.
I didn't burn down my Joe room because I saw that Snake Eyes movie. It's like, I saw the Pattinson Batman. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. But I went and saw it.
Sure.
And I don't fault anyone for loving it. If they love it, cool. That's great. That's your flavor. It just wasn't for me, but I still saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I didn't come in here with a baseball bat after that Snake Eyes movie and just start wrecking everything.
We have to talk Marvel and Batman movies because the Joe movies are stink. And I actually like the Retaliation, but that's neither here nor there at this point. But G.I. Joe Retaliation.
There's something about seeing The Rock, like, it's just big actors like that. That would be like if Brad Pitt was in Star Wars, the new Star Wars movie. It's just like, you're too big to be in something like that. That's just me. It's like, who was The Rock? Was he Roadblock? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Roadblock.
I don't see Roadblock. I see The Rock.
Yeah,
I just see The Rock. Man.
Roadblock just because. Yeah, it's The Rock.
And he acts like The Rock. So it's not like Johnny Depp where 2 seconds into a performance, you don't see Johnny Depp anymore. You see whoever character Johnny Depp is, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's like when The Rock gets hired, he's like Sam Jackson. He gets hired to act like himself, right?
It's the same with Bruce Willis as General Joe Colton. He was Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
He's Bruce Willis in literally everything. I don't think I've seen him act in anything other than himself. I can't remember.
Yeah, since he established the Bruce Willis brand with the Die Hard series, it's just Bruce Willis.
Yeah. And
at least in Moonlighting, he was a little more like upbeat and wacky.
Moonlighting, oh, there's a
but once, yeah, right. But once he became a badass, I mean, that was it. He's just like cynical Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Well, then Outback Stu says that Terry Crews is the perfect roadblock.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be great. Yeah.
Much better than The Rock.
I would even like to see a G.I. Joe movie where it's like, maybe Hawk's retired. And I mean, you can't serve in the military forever. You can't, you can become, well, I don't know why I'm saying this, Chad. You know what I'm talking about. Like, you become intelligence officers, sure, be behind the comm and stuff like that, sure, but you're not going to be on the field, 60-year-old man in the trenches, right? It's just not how it works.
No.
So again, have new characters, man. I think Hasbro, if you're listening, or anyone who's going to create more Joe stuff, I think if you introduce this stuff to the masses, you're going to get a better response than you think.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to keep showing us Firefly and even Storm Shadow. Like, just bring new stuff in.
And I think that's part of the crux of it. They want to give us Firefly, Destro, these specific characters over and over and over. But with Firefly and Destro and Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and Duke and Scarlet comes, 40 years of history.
Right.
So you're either gonna meet the mark or miss the mark. Why not do something else?
Yeah, do something
they
different.
kind of did it in A Real American Hero, and actually, I'm getting ready to shoot another one of those action figure theater, and without giving away too much, the joke is kind of like they already did that with Joe's, where Dial Tone came out in '86.
Mm-hmm.
Who did Dial Tone replace?
Breaker.
Who did Sci-Fi replace? Flash. Right?
Yeah.
And even in the comic book, actually in the Marvel comic book, they talk about that. It's like, you guys are retired. You're now on desk duty. Remember the Joes, like Breaker and those guys, the old guys, were all upset.
Yeah.
Because that's just what happens. It's like, you can't play basketball forever. Eventually you have to retire, become a coach, a commentator. You can't be on the court forever. It's the same kind of thing, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the infantry, and I spend most of my time behind a desk doing admin stuff, but I'm still in the infantry.
Yeah.
But it's just my rank and my age. I'm not a Joe or a team leader anymore, or even a squad leader. Like, I'm high enough now where that's just what I do, but that's my role in the organization. And yeah, absolutely, it applies.
And yeah, I like these older characters, but yeah, no, I do agree that they do need to, phase them out, I guess, and bring in newer characters, new blood to keep it more, I don't use the word realistic but to keep it more, realistic, I guess.
Well, where would we be without the imagination of Larry Hama creating all these characters?
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have Real American Hero as we know it, right? So again, just make new characters. I mean, let's put it this way. You're not going to fall too far back because the 90s stuff is so out there. It's got to be better than that. Let's be honest. I mean, it's got to be better than Lobotomax and that kind of insanity, right?
Battle Force 2000.
Hey, I got a thing for Dodger.
I got a couple Battle Force 2000 things floating around. I got a few.
Outback Stu says he thinks it'd be cool to have a G.I. Joe movie with all new characters, younger, and then we have some of the older characters playing the original characters. That would be awesome.
It would be great. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a passing of the torch. You don't have to have Duke's son, right? Scarlett's daughter. Not everything has to connect.
Right. Not everything has to be Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, you have a couple of the old generals. Maybe Hawk's gone. Maybe Duke's really old, but he's in charge now. Maybe Hawk passed away. Snake Eyes is long gone. Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I was saying, I think we're getting. There was Chris asked, what was the comic G.I. Joe reboot? I think it was. There was G.I. Joe Reloaded. I'm not sure. Maybe that's what you're referring to. From about a decade.
Oh, there was the
Devil's Due.
There was the Blaylock stuff that came out in 2002, where they
G.I. Joe. I think it was called.
Yeah, it was just G.I. Joe, and it was continuation.
Yeah,
but that stuff got thrown out as soon as Homer came back to continue it. Yeah,
shows Jared and Pat are covering. Jared and Pat on my G.I. Joe show. They've got their own show covering Blaylock's books.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen when IDW loses Joe after Hama finishes his run. Like, are they going to reboot it? Are they going to try to continue it? Like, that's going to be interesting to see.
But see, even me, and I haven't read a lot of that stuff. I've read a little bit, maybe about 10 issues since the Marvel. Right. And to me, it seems silly to have Flint and Lady J still running around because they got to be 60, 70 years old. But they're not, right? It's like Peter Parker is always the same age, right? More or less. So
Bart Simpson never ages.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Joes should age and should retire. And then the next bunch of soldiers come in.
Yeah. So he started to do that, like he said, when he had the Joes put him on desk duty, but then they kind of backed off of that. And I mean, they had in the early 100s, they had the Saw Viper kill off a bunch of the older Joes.
That was a great issue, that one.
Yeah, that's horrific.
Yeah. But they've kind of backed off a little bit, and they're keeping everybody around for the most part. And I agree. That's one thing. While I'm enjoying what Larry's doing on the book, I think it would be better if they would introduce more new characters and say these characters are actually getting older. And again, Snake Eye. They've in the comic spoilers, they've killed Snake Eyes off finally in the comic for now.
Yeah.
You have so many characters in G.I. Joe that, I hate to say it, but you could pick off some, and still have a well to draw from. You could take out, Sneak Peek, maybe. I'd like that.
Scoop.
Yeah. Scoop's all right.
Yeah. So, hey, look, go ahead.
Outback Stu says, JoJo's don't age.
Fair enough. You can argue with Outback because you'll lose.
Exactly.
But we've been talking for a while. We've gone off of G.I. Joe onto other just fandom in general. Is there anything else you wanted to ask, Jay, Mr. Chad?
Yeah. Jay, did you get anything new in this week?
Some Marvel Legends. I don't have them here. They're right over there, but just some loose Marvel Legends. Wolverine, Speak of the Devil. I really wanted a yellow Wolverine, and I found one that came with, I think it's called, affectionately known as the Love Triangle pack. Came with him, Scott, and Jean Grey. Yeah. But it's got removable heads for Wolverine, where it looks like his cowl's down. Mm-hmm. And then there's one with the bone claws and then the adamantium claws. It's just a beautiful figure. I got him.
That's awesome.
Joe wise, I upgraded my bug. I think I said that at the beginning of the show. Upgraded my bug. I just need a Secto Viper helmet, and that baby's ready to go. But that's a beautiful vehicle. Love it.
I just finished restoring my bug probably 2 weeks ago. I never had one as a kid, and every time I look at it, it's just fantastic. I just put the repro stickers on it.
I love how it carries 1 billion soldiers, and I have a thing in GI Joe for bubbles, which is why I love Maverick. I love Dodger. I always put what's the Vector?
The Vector Jet.
The Vector Jet. I love that thing because I love the bubble that comes off the back.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the bug. I just love those bubbles, man. I got a thing for them.
Yeah, and it's very iconic on the bug on the front like that.
Yeah. Very creepy.
Aaron, did you get anything in new?
No, nothing new. That's the last new stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, you get the classified bat. Look at you flexing.
Yeah, I got that from some guy that's on my show occasionally. I forget his name.
Me.
Yeah, we talked about one of the shows we talked about. I mentioned I hadn't gotten those yet, and he's lovingly sent them to me. So again, thank you very much.
Look, I'm all about sharing the joy. Like if people can't find something or they need something to complete something, like I'm the dude that's going to send it to you. Like you both know that. Like I'm just going to send it to you. Like if you appreciate it or you feel some kind of way about it, I will send you stuff. And that's just throughout. Like I will send fellow collectors stuff all the time.
Chris just got a box of old McFarlane NHL.
I didn't even know McFarlane did NHL.
And a 148 scale Desert Rafale.
Rafale.
And then Outbacks 2 just got a version 5 of Outback this week.
What a shock.
Very nice. I'm telling you, surprise. The surprise is he didn't already have it.
I got this bad boy.
Oh, that's a beauty.
I got a complete Cobra Liquidator. I never had this as a kid. I just got it. Some of the stickers, because it's the paper stickers from the 90s, so some of them are a little beat. I got to try to replace those. But other than that, it's in perfect shape, landing gear and everything.
Nice.
And then I got a bunch of troop builders, loose and carded, because I'm all about the army building. And just working on like 5 different customs. But that's what I got.
It's too bad that those Super 7 weren't just a tad better, the reaction figures, because they have the Joe soldiers, which is something we never got. And they're pretty cool, but the articulation's just no good.
So go ahead.
As we talked about when we recorded, it's going to be episode 14 now on the toy episode. Yeah, the reaction figure. They're for the price they're $17.95.
It's outrageous.
It's a high price for only 5 points articulation. They're very, very nice looking, and the card art on it's beautiful.
God, I love the cards. Adam Riches did a lot of those cards. He's a really great artist. I bought a few of the reaction figures, and I mean, let's be honest. Like reaction figures are for reaction fans. Like it's cool that they bring other IPs in because then those IPs get in the sightline of other people, and they kind of remain solvent. But I buy reaction figures just to chop their bodies apart and make customs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I made a Soundwave bat out of one of the reaction figures. I just got another one. Yeah, I just got another one, and then I got that the Cobra Trooper. I don't remember the name of it. It almost looks like a Stormtrooper, but I got that Cobra figure. He's on his way, and I'm gonna make a custom out of him. So
I do appreciate that they're bringing out newer characters.
The Blind Woodsman.
Yeah, they're bringing. I can't remember his. I don't. I think isn't he just called Old Man or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dog Sled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got Quinn too, which is I got Quinn and I got Snake Eyes, and then
I'm talking about ordering the Quinn one just because it's Quinn, but
yeah, exactly. And I got to be honest, if I see Storm Shadow, I'll be a stupid sucker and I'll be like, oh, I can have that.
Guys, actually looking at Target's website today. Well, it's here in the United States, and they've got the Destro reaction figure for like $12.95.
Oh yeah,
and then
some of them are great, like the cartoon, or it's the comic book Baroness. She looks great too.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the question about the Desert Raphael, whatever it is, Apparently, it's a French fighter jet.
Interesting.
So,
Cool.
All right. Well, we've been here for almost 2 hours, going on 2 hours now. So, Jay, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, anytime. It's a pleasure. Chad, thanks for having me. Aaron,
Thank you.
you guys are awesome dudes.
Yeah, Chad mentioned that we get at you. I'm like, oh, let's go for it. So, before we go, is there anything that you want? Do you want to promote your site, your podcast, your YouTube, and all that?
Oh yeah, let's promote Action Figure Adventure, which is on Amazon Prime right now. Season 1. The Jay and Rob Toy Show is on Jinx Esports TV here in Canada, and my own personal YouTube is just Jay Bartlett. It's just plain old Jay Bartlett. I don't have anything cool like Storm Shadow Jay or anything. I'm just Jay. So check it out, and thanks again for everyone who's been watching my YouTube stuff. It means the world to me.
Yeah.
Very nice. And yeah, definitely thank you much for coming on and talking with us. It was great. I love talking to different people and getting different G.I. Joe stories and origin stories and hearing the love that people have for G.I. Joe. Because like I said, growing up, I didn't have any friends that was into G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
One friend that was in the comics, but yeah, no one that had the G.I. Joe love that I have. So and now it's even less. It's great connecting up with all you guys on the internet, and that's one great thing about the internet. We get to meet up with people. I'm here in California, I'm in Canada, so it's great.
Fantastic. And yeah, I apologize. It's like 9 a.m. when we started there for you.
That's why I was chugging coffee the whole time. I'm like,
I was like, well, he's free from like noon to 2 or something. I'm like, well,
yeah.
In my head, well, that's like 9 o'clock my time. I usually drinking Friday nights. What the hell? Let's do it.
Yeah.
You got to sacrifice for your craft, man.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hey, Jay.
Yes.
Are your auctions still going on?
Yes.
We didn't talk about that at all.
Yeah, it's still Prince Dargon from Sectars, boxed and sealed. So again, all the proceeds go to Children's Health Foundation. We're about at the halfway point of the items, and you've received one. You were a high bidder.
I did.
And yeah, it goes to a great cause, guys. And you get to have what I think are cool collector's pieces, the ones that I picked out personally from the show. So just go on. Facebook is the easiest way. Action Figure Adventure on Facebook, and you can find the link to my personal eBay page there.
Yeah, some really awesome items.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially the stuff you guys are bringing in for season 2. It's amazing. The season 1 stuff was fantastic, but the season 2 stuff, like, the more I see, the more impressed that I am by it all. It's really awesome.
Great pieces out there. Yeah, we're lucky.
And the piece that I won, I was just trying to, support you guys and your cause because it's a really awesome thing that you're doing. And I think that more people should be a little more like that in this world. But, I don't collect Star Wars. I just bid on it to show support and either win it or drive the price up. One of the other, and I won it. So
you have one of the final 15, and he's very sought after. He's in the top 3 for rare Star Wars. So yeah, hang on to that baby, man, for sure.
He's in a glass case. So I have very few figures in a glass case in my living room displayed like that. But he's in there with a few of my grails.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So thanks again for that. I really appreciate that.
And like I say, as I always say, if you enjoy what you're hearing, you can leave us a message at 1-559-500-3182. Call and leave us a message and let us know what you think. Check out my other shows on the Headcast Network. I'm not going to go to them all here because I've got so many right now, but definitely check out my G.I. Joe Real American Headcast, which is on the second Tuesday of the month, and Bravo Team, which comes out on the fourth Thursday of the month. And soon, if things go like I'm planning, I'm going to be starting 2 more shows. Well, it's one show, but it's going to be bi-weekly. Eric Smith, a guy I met online, is doing a G.I. Joe role-playing game. So we're going to record that. I'm going to start posting that. And that'll be bi-weekly. So definitely look for that. And everyone in the chat and the audience, thank you very much for joining us and all your wonderful comments. As I posted here, Chris said, thanks for the invite, Chad.
Thanks for coming, Chris.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Chris. I was glad to see you, and love to see you out back, Stu. Thank you very much for, even though you're late, for getting here, and everyone else that's in the chat. And do you have anything else you wanted to say, Chad, before we sign off?
No, I just really want to thank Jay for coming. Jay's a really awesome guy.
Very much so.
I really can't say enough great things about Jay Bartlett, and I'm really glad that you agreed to come on and hang out with Aaron and myself. I'm not even part of this show. I just jump in the co-pilot seat every now and again. And everybody that came into the chat, Cobra Commander's my wife, so I got a date tonight. And John from Simple Tricks and Nonsense, Hector from Elite Legend Toys and Collectibles, Mike from What's on Joe Mind, Chris, Matt, everybody, just coming and hanging out with Jay and listening to all his stories and the stuff that he has to say. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's very, very kind of you. Again, anytime, guys, just throw out the invite.
We'll do it.
Oh, yeah.
Back on. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
All right, well, I guess we're going to go and sign off. We'll talk to you guys next time. I'm going to go and end the broadcast.